Seconds from saying, "I do," she overhears Groom's vile betrayal. Her brutal revenge stunned the entire wedding. The diamond-studded veil weighs heavy on Chantel Morrison's head as she stares at her reflection in the floor-length mirror of the Ritz-Carlton bridal suite. Her hands won't stop trembling. In exactly 7 minutes, she'll walk down that aisle. 7 minutes until she becomes Mrs. Stanley Wayne, wife to one of the most powerful real estate moguls in the state. "Girl, you look absolutely stunning," Veronica whispers, adjusting the train of Chantel's custom Vera Wang gown. "Stanley's going to lose his damn mind when he sees you." Chantel forces a smile, but her stomach twists into knots. She's marrying the man who swept into her life like a whirlwind 18 months ago, charming, powerful, seemingly captivated by everything she'd built with her own 2 hands. Morrison Marketing wasn't just a business. It was her baby. 10 years of 16-hour days, rejected proposals, doors slammed in her face. 10 years of proving that a black woman from the South Side could build something that mattered. And now, at 32, she had 12 employees, contracts with Fortune 500 companies, and a reputation as the go-to marketing strategist for minority-owned businesses. Stanley said he admired that about her. Called her brilliant. A force of nature. Said he wanted to build an empire together. "I need some air," Chantel murmurs, moving toward the French doors. But her feet carry her toward the connecting hallway between the bridal suite and the groom's quarters. The ornate double doors are closed, but not latched. Through the crack, she can hear voices. Male voices. Loud. Celebratory. Stanley's distinctive baritone rises above the others, and something in his tone makes Chantel freeze. "Gentlemen, in exactly 10 minutes, I close the deal of the decade," Stanley announces, his voice thick with satisfaction. Laughter erupts. Chantel recognizes the voices. Michael, his business partner. Stanley's brother Tony. The best man. "You lucky bastard," Michael says. "She's gorgeous, and she's bringing you a gold mine." "Gorgeous is a bonus," Stanley replies, and there's something in his voice that makes Chantel's blood run cold. But let's be clear about what matters here. Marrying Chantel Morrison gives me access to every minority contract in this state. Government grants. Diversity initiatives. Set-aside programs. The whole damn goldmine. Chantel's hand flies to her mouth, stifling the gasp that threatens to escape. "The lawyers structured it perfectly," Stanley continues. "Once we're married, Morrison Marketing becomes our joint venture. I've got the paperwork ready. She'll sign it on the honeymoon, all romantic and trusting. Within 6 months, I'll have majority control. She gets to keep playing entrepreneur while I leverage her connections." The way he says connections drips with contempt. "Oh, you know," Stanley says, and the men laugh. The diversity crowd. The minority business associations. Corporate America is falling all over themselves to look inclusive. If you're starting to enjoy this story, I'd love you to subscribe to be notified of other interesting stories coming up that you don't want to miss. Alright, let's continue. They're throwing money at this stuff. And Chantel? She's my golden ticket. "Jesus, Stanley," Michael mutters, laughing. "You're diabolical." "I'm strategic. I've been courting her for 18 months. Playing the supportive boyfriend. Attending her networking events. You know how exhausting that gets. Worth it for millions though," Tony adds. "Exactly. And here's the beautiful part. In about 2 years, after I've secured the major contracts, we'll divorce. She'll be too heartbroken to fight the prenup. She walks away with nothing. I keep everything." Chantel's legs buckle. She grabs the doorframe to keep from collapsing. "And she has no idea?" someone asks. "Please." Chantel's smart when it comes to marketing. But she's emotionally naive. She actually believes I fell in love with her brilliance. His voice drips with mockery. "She thinks we're building something together. Partners. Equals." The men laugh again, and the sound is like broken glass grinding into Chantel's chest. "Richard Morrison is a mechanic who got lucky," Stanley dismisses. "He's so thrilled his daughter is marrying into society that he's not asking hard questions." "You're going straight to hell, man," Tony says, laughing. "I'll save you all a seat. Now, Do I look like a man in love? Playing the woke white guy gets old. Yes, honey, systematic racism is terrible. Yes, sweetheart, representation matters. He mimics a syrupy voice, and the men roar with laughter. Chantel's vision blurs with tears, but she blinks them back furiously. She will not cry. Not yet. She has 12 employees in a rented office, Stanley continues. I have 200 employees across 4 states. But I let her feel important. I make her feel seen. And it worked perfectly. She fell hard. Introduced me to all her contacts. Even helped me secure that meeting with the city's minority business office. She has no idea she's been opening doors I could never access on my own. Because you're white, Tony states. Because I'm white, Stanley confirms without shame. But married to Chantel Morrison, founder of a certified minority-owned business? Suddenly, every door opens. Chantel stumbles backward. 18 months. All of it calculated. All of it fake. All of it designed to turn her into a commodity he could exploit. Time to get married. Stanley's voice cuts through her thoughts. Wish me luck closing this deal. Chantel runs back to the bridal suite, past a startled Veronica. Sean? What's wrong? Chantel locks herself in the bathroom, bracing against the marble sink. The face staring back looks hollow. Devastated.
No.
Not broken. Not yet. A knock on the door. Chantel? Baby, it's time. Chantel opens the door. Veronica stands there, concern etched across her face. I need you to trust me, Chantel says, her voice steady. Something's happened. Something bad. But I can't explain right now. Veronica's eyes narrow. What did that man do? Not here. Not now. But I need your help. And I need you to act normal. Veronica studies her face, then nods. You know I've got you. Always.
Good.
Because I'm about to do something crazy. How crazy? Chantel looks at herself in the mirror. Adjusts her veil. Tests her smile. I'm going to marry him.
What?
Sean, if something's wrong. Everything's wrong. Chantel cuts her off. But trust me, I know what I'm doing. Somewhere between the bathroom and the bridal suite, a plan is forming. Stanley Wayne thinks he's the smartest person in the room. Thinks he's played her perfectly. He's about to learn exactly how wrong he is. Let's go, Chantel says. Can't keep my groom waiting. The cathedral is stunning. 250 guests filling the pews, Stanley's society friends on the right, Chantel's family and community on the left. Her father waits at the back, resplendent in his tuxedo. Richard Morrison looks at his daughter with such pride that Chantel almost breaks. You ready, baby girl? He asks. Daddy. She starts, then stops. What is it? His eyes sharpen. You having second thoughts? Just emotional. Richard studies her face. You sure about this man, Chantel? Because if you're not, we can walk right out that door. I don't care about the deposits. I care about you. I'm sure, Daddy, she says. She's sure about what she needs to do. The wedding march begins. Chantel steps into the aisle on her father's arm. She sees Stanley at the altar in his custom tuxedo. He looks perfect, overcome with emotion as he watches her approach. It's all performance. Every bit of it. As they walk, Chantel's mind races. Stanley has paperwork ready for the honeymoon. He plans to take majority control of Morrison Marketing within 6 months. He intends to divorce her in 2 years. The prenup. She signed it 3 weeks ago, too happy to have her own attorney review it carefully. They reach the altar. Richard kisses her cheek and places her hand in Stanley's. Take care of my daughter, Richard says. Always, sir, Stanley promises. She's my whole world. Liar. The ceremony begins. Father Martin beams at them both. Chantel disconnects from the words, her mind working furiously. She needs information. Evidence. She needs to understand exactly what Stanley's planning so she can dismantle it. Stanley, do you take Chantel to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do, Stanley says with perfect manufactured sincerity. Chantel, do you take Stanley to be your lawfully wedded husband? Every cell in her body screams to say no. To expose him right here. But that would be emotional. Reactive.
She needs to be smart. Strategic.
Beat him at his own game. I do, Chantel says clearly. Stanley's smile widens, genuine relief flashing across his features. He actually worried she might have overheard.
Good.
Let him underestimate her. Rings are exchanged. Vows are spoken. Stanley kisses her. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Stanley Wayne. They walk back down the aisle together, smiling for the cameras. In the limousine, Stanley pulls her into his arms. We did it, baby. You're finally mine. Chantel closes her eyes and thinks, no, Stanley, you're mine. You just don't know it yet. The reception at the Grand Meridian is everything Chantel spent months planning. Stanley works the room, one arm around her waist, playing the devoted husband. You two are absolutely glowing, says Margaret Chen, one of Stanley's investors. I'm the luckiest man alive, Stanley declares. Chantel's connections in the minority business community are invaluable. We're planning some exciting joint ventures. There it is. Even at their wedding, he can't help positioning her as a business asset. When Margaret moves away, Stanley whispers, You're doing great, baby. Everyone loves you. Perfect for him, he means. I need to freshen up, Chantel says. She finds Veronica waiting in the hallway. In the bathroom, Chantel turns to her best friend, and everything threatens to spill out. Stanley doesn't love me, she says, her voice cracking. He never did. This whole thing, it's all a scam. Veronica's eyes go wide.
What?
I overheard him before the ceremony. He's marrying me to access minority business contracts. He's been planning this for 18 months. He's going to take control of Morrison Marketing and divorce me in 2 years. That son of a... We need to.
No.
We're not doing anything dramatic. Not yet. Not yet. You just married a con artist. I know. But if I expose him now, it's my word against his. He's got lawyers, money, influence. I signed a prenup without reading it carefully. Veronica starts pacing. So, what's the plan? I need evidence. Real, irrefutable evidence. And I need to understand the full scope before I make a move. You want to stay married to him? I want to let him think he's winning. Let him get comfortable. Then I'm going to destroy him so completely he never does this to anyone else. Veronica stops. You're serious. Dead serious. But I need your help. What do you need? Act normal. Be supportive. Don't let Stanley suspect anything. And starting tomorrow, help me gather information. Quietly. Veronica nods. I've got your back. Always. A knock. Chantel? They're about to cut the cake. Stanley's voice. Coming. They emerge. Stanley looks genuinely worried. Everything okay? He asks. Just wedding dress emergencies, Chantel says, sliding her hand into his. Stanley relaxes. Come on, everyone's waiting. As they walk back, Stanley leans down. I got talking to James Whitfield from the Small Business Administration. He wants to meet next week. Says there are exciting grant opportunities. Chantel's stomach turns. He's already using their marriage to set up schemes. That's wonderful, she says brightly. I can't wait. That's my girl, Stanley says. We're going to do amazing things together. The only true thing he said all day, Chantel thinks bitterly. Just not the things he's planning. Later, during the father-daughter dance, Richard holds her carefully. You happy, baby? He asks. Chantel looks at her father's weathered face, the man who built something from nothing. I'm going to be, Daddy. I promise. Richard studies her. That doesn't sound like someone who's happy now. Can I ask you something? When you built the business, did anyone try to take advantage of you? Richard's expression darkens. More times than I can count. People who saw a black man with something valuable and thought they could trick me out of it. Why are you asking this on your wedding day? Because I want to know how you protected yourself. I learned to trust my gut and document everything. Every handshake gets a contract. Every promise gets written down. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. What if someone shows you who they are, but nobody else sees it? Richard stops dancing. Chantel, are you trying to tell me something? Before she can answer, Stanley appears. Mind if I cut in? Richard releases his daughter reluctantly, giving her a look that says, we're not done with this conversation. Stanley takes Chantel in his arms. Your dad's a good man, Stanley says. Simple but good. The way he says simple makes Chantel want to slap him. He does love me, Chantel agrees. And he taught me to recognize when someone doesn't. Stanley laughs, completely missing the warning. Lucky for you. I love you very much. In fact, he pulls out an envelope. I have something for you. Inside are documents. Several documents. What is this? Preliminary paperwork for our joint venture. Morrison Wayne Enterprises. My lawyers drew it up. We can review it on the honeymoon. Chantel scans quickly. Phrases jump out. Transfer of majority ownership. Primary decision-making authority. Voluntary relinquishment of controlling interest. This is the trap. This is a lot to take in, Chantel says carefully. I know it looks complicated, but it just formalizes our partnership. My lawyers say it's the smartest move. Your lawyers, Chantel repeats. Our lawyers now, right? Take your time looking it over. No rush. 2 years, Chantel corrects silently. He plans to give her 2 years. I'll definitely want my own attorney to review this. For just a second, annoyance flickers across Stanley's face. Then it's gone. Of course. Though I hope you trust me. The song ends. Stanley excuses himself. Chantel's phone buzzes. A text from Veronica. Got a name. Megan Richards. Civil rights attorney. One of the best. Want me to set up a meeting? Chantel types. Yes. Tomorrow, if possible. The night drags on. More dancing. More toasts. More performance. Finally, it's time to leave. They're spending the night at a luxury hotel before flying to Bali. 2 weeks alone with Stanley Wayne. The thought makes her skin crawl. As they're leaving, Tony, Stanley's brother, pulls her aside. Hey, Chantel. Got a minute? Up close, Tony looks uncomfortable.
Sure.
Look, I don't know how to say this, but be careful with my brother. Chantel's heart races. What do you mean? Stanley's not always honest about his motivations. When it comes to business, he'll do whatever it takes. Sometimes the line between business and personal gets blurred. Are you trying to tell me something specific? He looks torn. Just get your own lawyer to review anything he asks you to sign. Don't take his word for things. Keep control of your own business. Before Chantel can respond, Stanley appears. There you are. We need to get going. He looks at his brother. What are you two talking about? Just telling your wife she better take good care of you, Tony says, but Chantel sees the warning in his eyes. In the limousine, Stanley is ebullient. What a perfect day. Everything went exactly as planned. Exactly as planned. To us, Stanley toasts. And to our future. At the hotel, the honeymoon suite is lavish. Stanley immediately starts unbuttoning his shirt. I've been waiting for this all day. Chantel's mind races. She can't do this. Not tonight. Stanley, I'm exhausted. And I have a terrible headache. Could we just sleep tonight? His expression hardens before he catches himself. Of course. Whatever you need, baby. He goes to the bathroom. Chantel hears the shower. She changes quickly, climbs into bed, and closes her eyes, feigning sleep. When Stanley emerges, he slides in beside her but doesn't reach for her. Instead, she hears him typing on his phone. Through barely open eyes, she watches. All good. She signed the marriage license. Now just need business docs signed on honeymoon. Should be wrapped by end of month. Response: good. We need to move fast on the Hampton project. Can't bid without the minority certification. Stanley types. Don't worry. It's in the bag. Chantel's blood boils, but she keeps breathing even. Stanley sets his phone aside. Within minutes, he's snoring. Chantel lies awake, her mind working. Tomorrow, she'll meet with Veronica's attorney. She'll start building her case. She'll document every lie, every scheme, every piece of evidence. And when she has enough, she'll make her move. Tonight, on her wedding night, Chantel Morrison Wayne makes herself a promise. Stanley thinks he's closed the deal of the decade. But he's going to learn that the only deal he closed was his own destruction. The next morning, Chantel wakes before Stanley. A text from Veronica. Megan can see you at 10 a.m. Chantel types, perfect. I'll be there. Another text from her father. Can't stop thinking about our conversation. Something's wrong. Call me. Stanley's voice from the bed. Chantel? You okay?
Fine.
Just getting ready. She emerges. Stanley is ordering breakfast. Thought we could eat, then head to the airport. Actually, I need to run out this morning. Pre-honeymoon spa appointment from Veronica. Stanley's jaw tightens. Can't you reschedule? Our flight is at 3. Just a couple hours. I'll be back with plenty of time. He calculates.
All right.
But don't be late. The Uber drops her at Megan Richards' office building. Veronica is waiting in the lobby. You okay? Veronica hugs her. Not even a little bit. But I will be. Megan Richards is a powerhouse. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, no nonsense. Her walls are covered with commendations and civil rights awards. Thank you for seeing me on such short notice. Veronica mentioned your name. I've followed your work. You've done impressive things. Chantel tells the whole story. The overheard conversation. Stanley's 18-month con. The business documents. The text messages. Megan listens, taking notes. This is worse than typical marital fraud, she says bluntly. What Stanley is planning, using minority business certifications fraudulently, applying for government grants under false pretenses. That's federal crime territory. Wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy, potentially RICO charges. RICO? Isn't that organized crime? RICO applies to any pattern of criminal activity. If Stanley has done this before, and I suspect he has, we might be looking at systematic operation. So what do I do? First, you do not sign anything. Nothing. Second, we need evidence. Real, documented evidence. Third, we move carefully. Stanley has resources. We need our case airtight. I have 2 weeks in Bali with him. Trapped. Then those 2 weeks become an intelligence-gathering mission.
Can you do that?
Chantel thinks about her father, her mother, her clients. I can do that. Here's what we need. Copies of every document. Screenshots of texts and emails. Recordings of conversations. Financial records. Names of anyone involved. Megan pulls out devices. This is a digital recorder. Looks like a pen. This is a USB with secure cloud backup. Copy every document he gives you. Chantel takes both. One more thing. That prenup. I need a copy today. I can get it this afternoon.
Good.
Most prenups can be challenged, especially if signed under false pretenses. Stanley marrying you specifically to commit fraud? That's textbook false pretenses. After the meeting, Veronica walks Chantel to the elevator. You're really doing this? Playing along for 2 weeks? What choice do I have? If I confront him now, his lawyers will bury me. But if I'm smart, patient, I can take everything from him the way he planned to take everything from me. Just be careful. Men like Stanley get dangerous when they lose control. Then I'll make sure he never realizes until it's too late. Back at the hotel, Stanley is pacing. Where have you been? Almost 3 hours. Spa treatments take time, Chantel says lightly. But look how relaxed I am. Stanley studies her, then sighs. You do look beautiful. Come on, the car's waiting. The flight to Bali is long. Stanley works on his laptop, occasionally showing Chantel spreadsheets. See this project? Hampton Street Development. 150 units. The city requires 30% of contracts go to minority-owned businesses. That's good. Provides opportunities for us. Once we formalize Morrison Wayne Enterprises, we can bid on the general contract. Your minority certification gets us in the door. My construction experience gets us the win. $20 million project, Chantel. But I don't have construction experience. Doesn't matter. We'll subcontract the actual work. The point is getting the contract based on your certification. These set-aside programs are so eager to appear inclusive they don't look too closely. Chantel's stomach turns. She reaches into her purse, activating the recording pen. Walk me through how that would work exactly. Stanley is happy to explain. For an hour, he details exactly how they'll exploit minority business programs, set up shell companies, funnel contracts while he maintains control. Every word is recorded. They arrive in Bali exhausted. The resort is stunning, a private villa on the beach. Welcome to paradise, Mrs. Wayne, Stanley says. For 2 weeks, just you and me and our future. That night, Stanley finally gets what he wanted on their wedding night. Chantel closes her eyes and thinks about evidence, about justice, about the moment when his empire crumbles. She can endure this. Over the next few days, Stanley is relentless about the documents. Just review them, he says the third morning. My lawyers approved everything. This clause here. It says I'm relinquishing majority voting rights. Why? Just a formality, for tax purposes. But don't worry, I'll never make a major decision without consulting you.
Lie.
And this personal liability for company debts? Standard protection language. Another lie. I want my attorney to review this. Stanley's mask slips, a flash of irritation. Chantel, we're on our honeymoon. Can't we just trust each other? I thought we were partners. We are partners. Which is why I want to understand what I'm signing. James Whitfield at the SBA is ready to approve our grant application, but we need the business structure finalized. Michael is getting impatient. Chantel deflects, stalls, plays the thoughtful bride. And every conversation is recorded. On day 7, Chantel accidentally leaves Stanley's laptop open while he showers. She plugs in the USB and starts copying files. What she finds makes her blood run cold. Spreadsheets detailing previous partnerships with minority business owners. Email chains discussing how to maximize the diversity angle. Applications for grants using false information. And a folder labeled Chantel Project containing everything, timeline of their relationship, analysis of her business, projected profit, even notes on how to manipulate her. Subject is eager for validation from white corporate establishment. Use this. Father is blue-collar, suspicious of wealth. Win him over with false humility. Subject's friend Veronica is skeptical. Avoid her. Focus on isolating subject. She's reading about herself like she's a mark in a con. Chantel copies everything and ejects the drive just as the shower stops. When Stanley emerges, she's on the balcony, staring at the ocean. You okay? Just thinking about the future.
Me too.
All the success we're going to have. All the money we're going to make.
Not we, Chantel thinks. You.
That night, she emails everything to Megan. Megan's response, this is incredible work. You've given us enough to start building a federal case.
Keep going.
We need to identify co-conspirators and trace the money. Over the next days, Chantel requests account statements from Stanley's banks, credit cards, investment firms. The statements reveal staggering information. Shell companies. Money laundering. Large sums appearing from business acquisitions every 18 months, followed by rapid depletion. Megan's response, we're finding at least 4 others. All minority business owners. All approached romantically. All ended bankrupt while Stanley profited. We're building a RICO case. On the 10th day, Stanley brings up the documents again. Chantel, we really need to finalize this. I've got deals waiting. I'm almost ready. Just a few more questions. What questions? I've explained everything multiple times. I want to understand what happens if the business fails. Stanley's patience is wearing thin. Why are you so focused on failure? This is can't lose. But hypothetically, the prenup protects both of us, he snaps. Then softens. Baby, I need you to trust me. Okay, she says softly. I trust you. Relief floods his face. So you'll sign? When we get home. I want to be back in my element, thinking clearly. Is that okay? It's not okay. She can see the frustration. But he nods. The last few days are tense. Stanley grows increasingly short, his mask slipping more frequently. On their last night, they have their first real fight. Why are you making this so difficult? Stanley demands. Sign the damn papers. I told you. I want my attorney. Your attorney? I'm your husband. It means I should be able to trust you to respect my need to protect my business. Your business? Stanley's laugh is bitter. Chantel, your business is 12 people in a rented office. I'm offering you something real, and you're throwing it away because of paranoia. It's not paranoia to want legal counsel. It is when you're questioning your husband's integrity. There it is. The real Stanley. Maybe there's a reason to question, Chantel says quietly. Stanley goes still. What does that mean? Nothing. I'm tired. Can we please go to bed? That night, Stanley doesn't touch her. He lies rigid and angry. And Chantel lies planning. They land back in the States on Tuesday. Stanley is immediately on his phone. Thursday, he tells someone, we'll have everything finalized by Thursday. He's not asking. He's telling. At Stanley's penthouse, Chantel finds her things moved. Her desk is gone. Where's my desk? I moved it to the second bedroom. I'm turning this into our shared office. More efficient. Without asking. Stanley, you should have consulted me. We live together now. I was optimizing space. Why are you being so difficult? I'm going to stay in my apartment tonight. I need space. Space? We just spent 2 weeks together. And I need one night in my own space. Is that a problem? Stanley's jaw clenches.
Fine.
Whatever. But tomorrow, we're meeting with my lawyers. This has gone on long enough. Chantel goes to her apartment and calls Megan. He's escalating. Pushing hard. I don't know how much longer I can stall. Then we stop stalling, Megan says. We have enough. Recordings. Documents. Financial records. Testimony from previous victims. It's time to move. Move how? Tomorrow, he wants to meet with his lawyers.
Perfect. You bring me instead.
We confront him with everything. We offer him a choice. Sign a divorce agreement giving you everything, including a full confession, or we hand everything to federal prosecutors. He'll never agree. Then we go to the feds. Either way, Chantel, this ends tomorrow. You don't have to pretend anymore. Chantel closes her eyes.
Okay.
Let's end this. The next morning, Chantel dresses carefully. Power suit. Favorite heels. Hair pulled back. Stanley texts, lawyer's office at 10 a.m. Don't be late. Chantel responds, I'll be there. What she doesn't tell him is that Megan will be there too. At 9:45, Chantel and Megan walk into the office building. Top floor. Corner offices. Designed to intimidate. You ready? Megan asks in the elevator. I've been ready since the moment I overheard him in that church. The receptionist looks confused when Chantel arrives with another lawyer. Mr. Wayne is expecting me, Chantel says smoothly. I brought my legal counsel. Stanley emerges, Michael behind him. His face goes through several expressions: confusion, irritation, calculation.
Chantel.
I wasn't expecting. Who are you? Megan Richards. Mrs. Wayne's attorney. Mrs. Wayne has attorneys? Stanley's smile doesn't reach his eyes. There's a lot you're not aware of, Chantel says quietly. Can we talk privately? Anything you have to say, you can say in front of my attorney. The tension is thick. Michael looks uncomfortable.
Fine.
Let's take this into the conference room. They file in. Stanley's lawyers, 3 of them, expensive suits, are already seated. Gentlemen, this is unexpected, the lead lawyer says. Things have gotten complicated, Megan says, setting her briefcase down with a decisive thunk. Stanley sits at the head, trying to maintain control. Chantel, what's going on? This is it. Chantel reaches into her bag and pulls out a small recording device. Sets it on the table. I want you to listen to something. She presses play. Stanley's voice fills the room. Marrying Chantel Morrison gives me access to every minority contract in this state. government grants,
diversity initiatives.
the whole damn goldmine. The color drains from Stanley's face. The recording continues. Every damning word, every racist joke, every detail. When it ends, the silence is deafening. Where did you get that? Stanley whispers. From you. The morning of our wedding. I heard everything. Stanley's lawyers frantically whisper. Michael has gone pale. And there's more, Megan says, pulling out a file. Recordings from your honeymoon detailing how you'd exploit minority business programs. Bank records showing pattern of fraud. Documents from your computer outlining the entire scheme. Testimony from 4 other victims. She slides copies to Stanley's lawyers. Jesus Christ, one mutters. Stanley lunges forward, grabbing Chantel's wrist. You've been spying on me? What kind of wife does that? The kind who discovers her husband is a con artist, Chantel says, yanking away. Don't touch me. This is entrapment. Stanley shouts. Actually, Megan says calmly, it's all perfectly legal. Your wife had every right to record conversations she was part of. The financial records are household information.
Your laptop?
You gave her your password. Stanley's lawyer clears his throat. Mr. Wayne, I need to speak with you privately. No, Stanley says. I want to hear what she wants. How much, Chantel? How much to keep quiet? I don't want her money, Stanley. Then what? Chantel leans forward. I want you to sign a divorce agreement giving me full ownership of Morrison Marketing. I want a full written confession of your scheme, including names of everyone involved. And I want you to pay restitution to every business owner you've defrauded. Stanley laughs. You're insane. Then we go to the FBI, Megan says simply. We have a meeting scheduled with federal prosecutors at 2 p.m. We present all this evidence. They'll charge you with wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy, identity theft. You'll be looking at 20 years minimum. The laugh dies. You're bluffing.
Try me, Chantel says.
One of Stanley's lawyers speaks. Mr. Wayne, I strongly advise you to consider their offer. The evidence is substantial. Shut up, Stanley snaps. Let me think. He runs his hands through his hair. This is ridiculous. I gave you everything. I was making you somebody. Making me somebody? Chantel's voice is ice. Stanley, I was already somebody. I built Morrison Marketing from nothing. You didn't make me anything. You tried to steal what I made. I loved you, Stanley says. No, you didn't. You loved what I could give you. Access. Certifications. I was never a person to you. I was a diversity hire for your personal life. Stanley realizes he's lost. His face goes through anger, calculation, desperation. What if I sign the divorce and keep Morrison Marketing out of it? And the confession? The restitution? That's not happening. If you want to go to the feds, go. I won't lose sleep over it, Chantel says. Megan checks her watch. It's 11:30. We need a decision. Sign the agreement or we walk to the federal building. Stanley's lawyers urgently confer. Finally, Mr. Wayne, I cannot advise you to reject this. Federal charges would be catastrophic. How catastrophic? 20 years. Maybe more. Asset forfeiture. Civil suits. The end of everything. Stanley closes his eyes. I need time to think. You have until 1:30, Megan says. After that, we're walking. They leave Stanley to deliberate. Chantel and Megan wait in a coffee shop across the street. How are you feeling? Megan asks. Terrified he'll call our bluff. It's not a bluff. The feds want this case. At 1:15, Stanley's lawyer calls.
He'll sign.
But he wants the confession sealed. No deal, Megan says. Full confession, fully disclosed, or we walk. At 1:28, they call back. He'll sign everything. They reconvene. Stanley looks like he's aged 10 years. Shoulders slumped, suit rumpled. The divorce agreement is brutal. Chantel gets Morrison Marketing free and clear. Stanley relinquishes all claims. Prenup voided due to fraud. Stanley pays $500,000 for damages. The confession is even better. Every detail. Every victim. Every falsified document. All in writing, signed and notarized. When it's done, Stanley looks at Chantel with hatred. I hope you're happy. I'm not happy, Stanley. I'm free. There's a difference. You've ruined me.
No.
You ruined yourself. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Chantel walks out with Megan, leaving Stanley to his lawyers. But even with the signed confession, Megan keeps their 2 p.m. appointment with federal prosecutors. The feds are very interested in Stanley Wayne. Over the next 3 months, Chantel watches Stanley's empire crumble. Federal indictments come. Wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy, identity theft. Civil suits follow. Every business owner Stanley defrauded files claims. His business partners abandon him. Investors pull out. Tony, Stanley's brother, reaches out. I should have said something sooner. I knew Stanley was capable of terrible things. I'm sorry. Why didn't you warn me? I tried, in my cowardly way, at the wedding, but I should have been direct. Did you know about the others? Tony nods, ashamed. I suspected. But Stanley is my brother. I wanted to believe his version. And now I'm testifying against him. The trial is scheduled for 6 months after the wedding. Chantel attends every day, watches prosecutors present her evidence, listens to testimony from Marcus, Linda, James, and 2 other victims. Stanley's lawyers try everything. Claim entrapment, question admissibility, suggest Chantel was a willing participant. But the evidence is overwhelming. The jury deliberates for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Stanley Wayne is sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. No parole for 8 years. Asset forfeiture. Restitution totaling over $3 million. When the sentence is read, Stanley doesn't react. He just sits there as his world collapses. Chantel feels hollow relief that it's finally over. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. Megan handles most questions, but Chantel steps to the microphone. What happened to me happens to too many people. Predators who see success and decide to take what others built. But I want every victim to know you can fight back. You can win. And you don't have to accept being treated like a commodity. She walks away from the cameras. Veronica is waiting. You did it. We did it. I couldn't have done this alone. So what now? Chantel looks at the sky. It's beautiful, clear and bright. Now I rebuild. Morrison Marketing doesn't just survive, it thrives. With Chantel's courage making national news, clients flood in. Companies want to work with the woman who took down a con artist. Within a year, she's doubled her staff. Within 2 years, offices in 3 cities. Weaponized, how I fought back when my identity became someone else's commodity. At a speaking engagement in Chicago, 18 months after the trial, Chantel is approached by a man who introduces himself as Tony Reeves. Not related to Stanley, he clarifies immediately. Different Tony. I'm an architect. I have my own firm. I heard you speak today about building something real versus performing for acceptance. It resonated with me. They talk for hours. About business. About pressure to prove yourself. About being used versus being valued. Tony is successful in his own right. Doesn't need her connections. Just genuinely enjoys her company. She becomes an advocate. Testifies before Congress. Speaks at conferences. Writes a book that becomes a bestseller.
Can I take you to dinner sometime? Just dinner. No business. No agenda. Just 2 people getting to know each other. Chantel hesitates. Trust feels impossible. I should tell you, I have serious trust issues. My last relationship was complicated. I read your book. I know what happened. And I'm not asking for your trust right away. Just dinner. We can take it as slow as you need. Something in his directness makes Chantel say yes. They date for 2 years. Slow and careful. Tony never pushes. Never tries to involve himself in her business uninvited. When he proposes, it's simple. Just the 2 of them after dinner. Chantel Morrison, I love you. Not your business. Not your connections. Not what you can do for me. Just you. Will you marry me? Can I have my lawyer review the prenup first? Chantel asks, half joking. I'll have my lawyer send it over tomorrow, Tony says seriously. I want you to take your time. Have Megan tear it apart. Because I never want you to feel vulnerable again. They marry in a small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Veronica is maid of honor. Megan attends, beaming. Richard Morrison walks his daughter down the aisle again. This one's different, he whispers. He is, Daddy. He really is. The vows are simple but genuine. No performance. No hidden agenda. Just two people promising to build something together as equals. At the reception, Chantel's phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number. I know I have no right to contact you, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry. For everything. You deserved better. I hope you found happiness. Stanley. Chantel stares at the message, then deletes it without responding. Stanley Wayne is her past. A painful chapter that taught her about her own strength. This, Tony, her thriving business, her advocacy work, her peace, this is her present and future. She puts her phone away and returns to her wedding reception. To her husband, who looks at her like she's the entire world. Not because of what she can give him, but because of who she is. Everything okay? Tony asks. Everything's perfect, Chantel says. And for the first time in years, she means it. Epilogue. 5 years later, Chantel speaks at a business conference. The topic: protecting your worth in a world that wants to exploit it. They tried to make me smaller, Chantel tells the packed audience. Tried to turn my identity into their commodity. Tried to exploit the very systems meant to address inequality. But here's what they didn't understand. I was never their opportunity. I was never access to be leveraged or a certification to be exploited. I was always my own empire. The crowd erupts in applause. And when they tried to take what was mine, I took everything that mattered, my dignity, my truth, my power, and my future. Because you are not a diversity hire. You are not access. You are not a means to someone else's end. You are the whole damn empire. Standing ovation. After the speech, people line up to talk to her, to thank her, to share their stories. One young woman waits until the end. Ms. Morrison, I almost married a man like your ex-husband. I was so in love. But then I read your book. And I started noticing things. The way he positioned me with his contacts. The way he talked about my family's connections. The way he pushed me to sign papers I didn't understand. What did you do? I called it off. 3 weeks before the wedding. He was furious. But I stood my ground. 6 months later, I found out he'd done the same thing to 2 other women before me. You saved me, Ms. Morrison. Chantel hugs this young woman. You saved yourself. I just showed you it was possible. That night, Chantel goes home to the brownstone she and Tony bought together. It's in her name. Protected. She finds Tony in the kitchen cooking dinner. How was the speech? He asks, kissing her hello. Powerful. Emotional. There was a young woman who said the book saved her. That must feel incredible. It does. But you know what feels better? What? Coming home to this. To you. To a life built on truth instead of performance. To a partnership where I don't have to guard myself. To being valued for who I am, not what I can provide. Tony pulls her close. You know I feel the same way about you, right? You make me want to be better just by being yourself. Later, as they eat dinner, Chantel thinks about the journey that brought her here. The devastating betrayal. The painful performance. The gathering of evidence. The confrontation. The rebuilding. All of it led to this moment. This peace. This authentic love. Her phone rings. It's Veronica. Turn on CNN. Chantel grabs the remote. Breaking news. Romance scam victims win major class action lawsuit. The story details how victims of romance and business fraud, including Stanley Wayne's, have won a landmark case establishing new legal protections. Megan Richards is on screen, fierce and professional. This ruling sends a clear message. People who weaponize diversity programs, who exploit marginalized communities, who use romance as a tool for fraud, they will be held accountable. The camera cuts to a photo of Chantel from the original trial. Much of this case was built on evidence gathered by Chantel Morrison, who became a symbol of resistance against exploitation. Tony mutes the television and looks at Chantel. You did that. You changed the law. You protected people you'll never even meet. Chantel thinks about the young woman at the conference. About Marcus Linda James. About every person who will be safer because of the precedent they set. We did that. Me, Megan, Veronica, all the victims who had courage to come forward. We did it together. That's the real lesson Stanley Wayne never understood. Power isn't about what you take from others. It's about what you build together. It's about lifting as you climb. It's about using your platform to protect the vulnerable instead of exploiting them. On her office wall is a photo from her second wedding. Real smiles, real joy, real love. Next to it, a framed quote from her congressional testimony. When someone reduces you to a commodity, they reveal everything about themselves and nothing about your worth. Your value is inherent. Your worth is not negotiable. And your identity is not currency for someone else's empire. Chantel Morrison learned the hard way that some people see success and think, how can I take that? But she also learned that she was strong enough to fight back, smart enough to win, and powerful enough to ensure that her victory protected others. Stanley Wayne thought he was closing the deal of the decade when he married her. But the only deal he closed was his own destruction. And Chantel Morrison? She built an empire that no one could ever steal. The end.